Hey, this video is going to walk through the top 3 most frequently used, most recommended data collection tools for an ADSIS behavior interventionist. And I'm not keeping any secrets, so number 1 is going to be the 0 through 10 organizational skills rating scale that you would keep printed near your desk and reference. And I'll talk about that more in a second, of course. Number 2 is going to be a 0 to 10 electronic rating scale that you would send to teachers using a Google form, otherwise known as a direct behavior rating or a DBR. And number 3 is going to be a check-in, check-out point card. Okay, so let's start with number 1. And I'm on the Scred website under databases, EduClimber, and then interventions. And why am I here? Well, I'd like you to think of this as your home base. Everybody needs a home base. And we thought about designing this page to give you everything you would need. It's like a central nexus. Everything you would need for picking your intervention, for knowing what data collection tools to use, etc., is all kind of linked from here. And what do you mean by that, Nick? So under creating interventions, this is ostensibly here to show you how to set up your graph, your line graph for your data in EduClimber. But in order to do that, EduClimber is going to ask you monitoring type. It's going to say, what tool are you using to collect data? And to answer that question, we have this resource, SEL Progress Monitoring Logistics. And this thing is going to be helpful for SPED teachers, but it was designed specifically to be a document to help ADSIS behavior interventionists, entitled, but ADSIS behavior interventionists navigate knowing what data collection tools to use. And at the top here, it goes through the whole process of, picking what you're measuring and why, and then the tools you're using, collecting your data, graphing it, and using the data, all that, the whole shebang. But it really narrows in on that part about logistics. So where are you going to be? How are you going to use your time and teachers' time to get your data? And there's a couple of options, but again, I'm only going through the top 3 specific tools. And the first one I'm going to talk about is a 0 to 10 rating scale for organizational skills. And this is going to be used if you use it by you, only you, as the single rater and during your intervention. And in most cases, it's a secondary, middle, or high school intervention. Often it's a class, but not always. And you're targeting study skills and organizational skills. So prioritizing tasks, how well the student picks what thing they should be working on first, how well they track what they're supposed to do and when they finish it, a variety of other organizational skills, right? So the trick is, with a lot of things that we want to measure with behavior interventions, like following instructions, staying on task, academic engagement, respectful interactions, we have to get a picture of the whole school day because we can see that stuff all day long. It happens all day long. So we either have to ask all the students' teachers who work with them or have some other system to get that big picture view of their whole day. But for organizational skills, they're a lot harder to see. And I can't really go down the hallway and ask their physics teacher or their bio teacher or their calc teacher how well they're prioritizing and organizing all these different tasks across all their classes. Those people don't really have the best view of that. But I do, as the org skills, study skills, interventionist instructor. I have a great picture of across the students' classes, how they're organizing and prioritizing all of their tasks, assignments, quizzes, etc. So I'm the best person to rate that. It's a unique situation where that's the case. So one tool I could use is this org skills 0 to 10 rating scale. And what I do is keep this printed near my desk, hung near my desk, and every week or every 2 weeks, I look at what information I have that answers these kinds of questions, like looking at their grade book for one, of course, but I could look at notes that I keep while I'm meeting with the student around, coaching them on their organizational skills. And I take all of that and I make a determination, 0 to 10, how frequently they're using these organizational skills. And I enter that into EduClimber, and what it looks like is this. So I would see organizational skills, and then I would see a list of my students, and then I would just go through like a spreadsheet and enter scores in this column. And that's it. I mean, it's that simple. So boom, 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 boom. I have this hung near my desk. I have this up on my computer screen, and boom, 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 done. So it's very slick and very fast. So that is that. Then I'm going to jump to the second thing. Those skills like following instructions, respectful interactions, those things that happen all day long. How do we measure that? So we do it with a Google form. We send it to multiple teachers or people who work with the student. And that's what I'm looking at the very top here. And what we've done for GenEd, ADSIS title, is pick some very high frequently used skills and rating forms. So for special education, they have their own resource and it has like 50 options, so many different things. And each student might have a completely different skill they're working on, targeting and measuring. And students could have multiple ones. That's for special education. That's not for GenEd, for ADSIS, for title. For GenEd, for ADSIS, for title, we want things to be a lot more simple, right? It's more plug and play. It's not as specialized as special education. No pun intended. But we've picked academic engagement, self-control, following instructions, respectful interactions. And if you need something else, please talk to me. I'm linked right here. But for the most part, we're going to say pick 2, maybe 3 from that list. And for every student you work with, pick just one, pick one or the other. So I might have 15 students who are my Check and Connect mentors. And for most of them, I measure academic engagement. Maybe for a couple, I do self-control. But it's just one or the other. And it's a pretty small list I'm working from, again, as far as what I'm measuring. Keep it simple. Generally recommended. So to open one up, it looks like this. It tells the GenEd teacher who's getting it what we're measuring, and then a description so that they have more of an idea of what we mean by academic engagement in this case. And then a rating form they click that goes from 0 to 100% of the time. And that's pretty much it. The only wrinkle here is that sending those out to a lot of different people can be really taxing on you. So we have some tools here like the Boomerang Gmail extension that help you automate that, which saves you a lot of time. And there's some videos and stuff here that explains how to do that in your district. So the third thing we're going to talk about, last but not least, is a point card. And by far, for ADSIS and title, by far the most frequent use case for this is a check-in, check-out program. So let's just click down and learn more about that. Check-in, check-out is the student carries around a point sheet daily, and we're collecting data daily, which obviously is more frequent than the 2 last things I talked about. The 2 last things I talked about where we get data, every week or every 2 weeks. This is again daily, which sounds like a lot, but this is bigger than just the data collection. Check in, check out, the student getting ratings and getting that feedback from their teachers. It's actually part of the intervention, the integral part of the intervention. So that's why it happens so often. But if you're using a check-in, check-out point card and you have a check-in, check-out program in your school, it's most likely an elementary school, and you either have already or you should work with me, and again, I'm linked here, Nick, or your school psychologist, or both of us, to set up a check-in, check-out setup in EduClimber just for your school. So let me show you what I mean by that. When we scroll down here and we're entering scores, it looks a little bit different than the other things I've talked about. There's a specific part of EduClimber that's just for point sheets. And if I have a check-in, check-out program, I would set it up and help you so that these periods in the day, these classes listed, match your school and the labels you use on your point cards. And then the expectations, in most cases, we want this to mirror your school-wide expectations. So for example, at Jacobson, they have respectful, organized, attentive, responsible. You might have respectful, responsible, ready to learn, another very common one. But again, we want this to match the student's point card. And then every day I go through the list of students here one by one and then document what's on their point card. And that sounds like a lot, but EduClimber is really, like, again, this is just set up just for this exact scenario. So they have a quick enter button. So I can click that and then I say, what are most of the scores on the student's point sheet? Because often it is pretty similar, and for the most part they do really well. So if it goes to 3 points, I could click quick enter, type 3, and it'll fill out 3 for all of the periods and all the expectations. And then I just have to go in and adjust the things that aren't a 3 in this case. I hope that makes sense, but it saves a lot of time. And that's it. So again, I reviewed a 0 to 10 rating scale for organizational skills that looks just like this. Very common for middle and high schools for org or study skills focused classes / interventions. I reviewed the not academic engagement, the Google form with a 0 to 10 scale and the small list of skills we recommend you pick from. And then you would just send this to the students' teachers across their school day. And finally, we talked about the point card system, where it's part of your check-in, check-out program. So if you have a check-in, check-out program, obviously that's your data collection tool. It's built into the intervention itself. So those are the top 3. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.